And cha-ching, that means that it is Real Money Coach time. Listen, it is Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And as Dante already has strolling on the screen, let us know where you are watching from. What city, what state, what country, wherever you happen to be. We want to know. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this tonight. If you are looking to get your money right, you're in the right place at the right time. So I want you to do this. I want you to call mama and them, auntie and them, boo-boo and them, and all of them and tell them get on Facebook or YouTube, The Real Money Coach Show, because we are going to talk about how to budget yourself from welfare to wealth, from money to more money, and all that good stuff. And we're going to have a great time doing it. Listen, I thank you so much. I thank you all so much for tuning in. As you do every week. Kimberly, thank you for being here. Kimberly from Charlotte, North Carolina, part of the Mount Carmel Baptist Church family. Listen, so many people stopped me this week and said, listen, I heard you on the radio. I heard you on the radio. And so I really appreciate it. And I do not take it for granted that you're up at 7:30 a.m. on Saturday listening to the Real Money Coach Show on Praise 100.9, Charlotte's inspiration station. So absolutely having a ball doing that. And if you actually listened last Saturday, you already know who our guest is going to be tonight. You already know who it's going to be. It is going to be Phyllis Ward. Many of you know her, especially if you were part of the WINS group at Mount Carmel, which let me explain what the WINS group. Alice Martin, thank you for being here. We know that Alice was an active part of that. So at Mount Carmel, we had a WINS program, which is a financial literacy program headed up by Dr. George Fraser. And so we launched a big initiative here in Charlotte. Oh, I guess it was pre-pandemic. So it's been a couple years ago. And we had some guest speakers come in. Some of the guest speakers we had come in is as you know, Sean Langston, who is a realtor extraordinaire. Love Sean. We had Mark Stewart from the county come in. We had Phyllis Ward, Holly come in talking about budgeting. Matter of fact, we were so impressed with Phyllis that she traveled with George Fraser and myself, and we went to Birmingham, Alabama, and did a workshop there. And so just really great program. It was 12 weeks, followed up by another 12 weeks. So just trying to really get financial literacy, trying to get financial education out there to the masses. And so many people remember Phyllis from coming and talking to that class. And they were stopping me saying, hey, I heard your show on Saturday and Phyllis was on there. And so they were really excited about that. I'm sure many of them will be watching this evening as well. And so we're excited about it. And the reason why we're so excited about it is because we know how important budgeting is, how important it is to have a spending plan. Whether you're an individual, whether you are a senior, whether you are a college student, or whether anything in between, right? It is important that you have a great plan, because people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. Even we've heard that many times before. So we're excited about that. And I also want to just make a couple announcements. As I just alluded to, tune in on Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for the Real Money Coach radio show on Praise 100.9. If you are not in the Charlotte area, you can pick that up on the internet by going to praisecharlotte.com, or you can download the app, that type of thing. And listen, we had 2 people tell us where you're from, and I see a whole lot more people out there. So if you're out there, let us know where you're watching from. Say hello to us this evening, and so that we can acknowledge you. We want you guys to be active in our chat tonight. We want you asking questions and all that kind of good stuff, so that we can have just a great, valuable session for you guys. And, you know, we're excited about some of the guests that we have coming up. Next week, we have a gentleman coming on the show who is known as the credit guru, the celebrity credit guru. Thank you, Ruth Bell, for letting us know you are there. Ruth Bell is in the house watching, and he's known as the credit guru. So he's going to be on. He's worked with people like Raji B. Henson and all these celebrities in terms of what he does in terms of credit. So he's going to be our guest on the radio show coming this Saturday. And then a week from today, we'll unpack more things on the Facebook Live show. So we're looking forward to that as well. So without any further ado, let me bring my co-host on and let's find out what's going on in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Michelle, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing good. I think I'm recovering.
I know, right?
I tell you what, yeah, it takes me a little bit longer than the young folks to bounce back, right?
I know, right. I know. I talked to your girl the other day, and I asked her if she recovering, and she got that mama itch and want to talk to that baby that got married. I'm like, hold up, give him a minute.
Hey, you can't be calling him on the honeymoon, right?
Right. Or when he just got back from the honeymoon, like, give him a minute.
Yeah. Well, he been calling.
I know.
Yeah. So, but I think he's doing it a good way, right? So she's at work, so he calls when she's at work.
Oh, okay.
And then when she gets off work, they have their time together. I'm assuming. But you remember what that was like 30 years ago, right?
Oh yeah.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Man, Michelle, 30 years.
I know.
That's wild, right?
That's wild.
And here we are, at our 30-year anniversaries, you and Tony and me and Elisa, and our kids got married at that 30. Yeah, just it's like Antonio and little Tony. It's just crazy. But I hope this is what I've told them. Y'all better have budget. Y'all better have a budget,
Tony,
right?
Let me tell you.
What?
Let me tell you. So Sunday, I started Sunday Family Financial Wellness.
Okay.
So I'm meeting with all of my nieces and nephews, and we are talking about money. And it was such a nice time with them on Sunday. They had lots of questions. Wow. And they are so thankful that I'm doing this for them because, we had a foundation laid with our parents, so it got us, me and my siblings, to a certain place. And now, because this is my profession, why wouldn't I give it to my nieces and nephews?
Well, I think that's awesome. And, Lisa's been talking about doing that. Hello, Dr. Benita. Lisa's been talking about doing that with our family. And I think it's a great idea. I think we might have had a little bit. I was thinking she was going to pull them together. Maybe she's thinking I'm going to pull them together. But we're going to get them together and get them on a Zoom.
And I wanted to do it without their parents. So this is confidential. Whatever they share with me is confidential.
So it's just Aunt Michelle and the nieces and nephews.
That's right.
Wow. Okay, I like that. I thought for sure that it was the parents too. No parents.
No parents.
Interesting. That's good. That's interesting.
Yeah, from the oldest to the youngest.
How old is the youngest?
The youngest is 16. She'll be 17 this year.
Okay. And that's who?
That's Dawson. That's Darnell's baby.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of good news is happening in the Clement family. So I've heard some more good news that's happening. I don't know if you're at liberty to share any of that.
I'm going to be a great auntie.
You're going to be a great auntie.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome. And I hear we got some spiritual stuff happening in the family too.
Oh, what? You know something I don't know.
You mean I know something about your family you don't know?
You might.
I ain't going to say nothing. I ain't going to say nothing more than that. Call your brother after the show. Call your brother. So as y'all watching, you can see our families are like really connected and really close, right? They're like they having a family conversation. We're on Facebook waiting to learn something about some money, right?
Right.
So, one of the things I think I'll share tomorrow is when I do my Money Minute on Praise, because I do a Money Minute every Wednesday with Melanie Pratt in the middle. And I think tomorrow I'm going to just share some tips about school shopping, how you can save some money school shopping.
Yep.
Because it is that time of year.
It is.
Now, Michelle, when I was going back to school, when we were going back to school, it was like Kmart or Sears Tough Skins.
JC Penney.
Well, we finally did move up to JC Penney, right?
Well, yeah.
But we were Kmart and
we was in Kmart
and Sears and those type of things. And so, but we had great childhoods,
Oh, absolutely.
And we didn't know any different. I think it's a little different. And for that reason, tell me this in the chat, y'all. Do y'all like, I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow on the radio show. Y'all help me out. Do y'all like the idea of uniforms for kids for school? Do you like the idea of uniforms or no uniforms? What'd you think?
As a parent, I like uniforms.
As a parent, you like uniforms?
Oh, yes.
You got khaki blue, black, right? Burgundy shirts, green,
Polo shirt. That's it.
That's it.
The only zest you can have is probably your shoes.
Your shoes. You can get a little flavor with your shoes.
Get a little flavor with your shoes.
I believe that person from Greenville might be Adele. And they're saying yes for uniforms.
Yeah,
we got people toning in from Dallas. Now y'all coming on in, letting us know where you're at. So that's pretty cool. So Kimberly said uniforms. Yes. The vote is for uniforms. Everybody liked the idea of uniforms.
It saves parents money because typically the uniforms are not priced the same as regular clothes.
Yeah. And so, and then I think too, you can get away from some of the tendency to spend more on labels, right?
Yes. Well, me and my kid, I do labels.
You do labels, right?
No. If it was on sale, I might get it, but no, we didn't do labels.
You didn't do the labels?
No.
I don't think we did either. We were joking earlier today.
Well, your kids wore uniforms.
Yeah, my kids wore uniforms because they went to a charter school, right? So they wore their uniforms and they couldn't wait to get out of that charter.
I know.
Yeah, they couldn't wait to get out of that charter school. But we were talking earlier that growing up, we ate so many turkey roast and rotisserie chickens and all this stuff, and it was for a number of reasons, right? Because it was economical. Yeah. And then, Lisa, for most of the kids' upbringing until middle school, she stayed home.
Right.
So she had the three of them.
Yep, she did.
And so, by the time I got home, it wasn't no cooking. She was like here.
Right.
So, and they were so close together. So, but, wouldn't trade that time for anything. So,
yeah.
And here's the thing. Y'all, so our kids were 13 months apart, Adrian and Tony, and then Tony and Christopher were 15 months apart.
Yeah.
So those three were really close together. Kids a little older, but and Michelle and her husband was laughing at us at the wedding because we had our grandkids, and they were saying it was like deja vu, right? I'm pushing a stroller, Lisa's got one on her hip, and it's like, but we were,
and the other one is just turning around in circles.
But we were 30 years younger. We had more energy than that then. So, but it's all good. Listen, Michelle, budgeting, right?
Yes.
And having a spending plan. We've talked about it so many times. I really have been looking forward to Phyllis coming to part of the show. Let me just kind of read a little bit of her bio. I did send this out in email. But Phyllis Holly Ward is the founder and CEO of Success Links, personal development company that provides special events and training to help people achieve financial success. She is a true, this is what this second paragraph, if I didn't read anything else, this, I think, is one of the things that really stood out to me and where I gained so much respect for her. Is Phyllis is a true example of what it is to overcome life's personal challenges. Now, we all know life has its challenges, right?
Yes.
It ain't always smooth, peaches and cream, right? Because she didn't let the challenge of being a teenage mother with two sons by the time she was 16 and being on welfare stop her. Her
Wow.
challenges and love for the community led her to run and become a city councilwoman, successful real estate investor, and a budget expert.
Wow.
And, and I think that you all who are watching tonight, again, I encourage you to share this link, share to Facebook, hit the share button, because I think what you're going to hear tonight is going to help somebody get over the hurdle, right? And
Mhm.
to understand that if Phyllis can do it, if Michelle can do it, if Tony can do it, if we can do it, you can do it too. That's the
Absolutely.
message tonight. And so
Mhm.
I'm really, really excited to bring Phyllis Holly Ward onto the Real Money Coach show. Let's bring Phyllis on stage.
Good evening.
There she is. Good evening, Phyllis. How are you? Dante say, you go, girl. You go, girl. Um, just a remarkable story, Phyllis. And
Is.
when I first heard your story there in that wins class, I was like, wow, it's just very inspirational, very inspirational. And so, if you wouldn't mind, can you just tell us a little bit about your background, and then I want to bring it forward to how you use budgeting to as you mentioned, to get from off of welfare. And then we'll talk about your current business and what you're doing, who you're working with. We're just going to unpack all of it. So, but I just want you to just share with people your background a little bit. If you spend a few minutes doing that, and then we'll start with the questions.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Michelle, it's an honor to be here and just talk about it. And please forgive me, because no matter how many times you tell the story, it's still very emotional to you, and it's a personal story. Um, and that I could sit here today and actually share with other people, um, after being a teenage mother. And well, I can't say after, because I still am a teenage mother. uh, I'm just older mother now. But my story is that I had, by the age of 16, um, I got caught and had two children at the age of 16, and was struggling on welfare, for which I um, actually lived the first half of my life on welfare, and not knowing any other way or system about money. And then by the age of 17, I got hit with the unfortunate story of my mother, who was my foundation. At that point, I'm raising two children, ages 1 and 2. And um, uh, again, please forgive me, it's a little emotional for me. But it's by the age of 1 and 2, I got hit with the fact that my mother was passing away. And then I got hit with the news that her funeral was going to be actually on my 18th birthday.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so that was how I was welcomed into adulthood, which is what we call the age of 18. Went through that, and this is just a long story short. And then that was 17, and then 18th birthday, and then a few months. I can say a few months, maybe 6, 7 months later, my siblings and I lived in a home that she left us in. The house caught fire. We didn't know how to take care of it, and the house caught fire, and we all became homeless.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So, and at that point, you go around, you're trying to figure it out. How are you going to make ends meet? Where are you going to go? Um, had some friends and family that we could stay with. But then it hit that everywhere you went Now, let me be clear, because I've always been a hustler. Now, I done sold some newspapers and I even, I sold nail laters in school. I don't know if anybody remember nail laters now. And I could sell
Absolutely. We remember
Yes.
I like the strawberry apple, the sour apple, the sour apple.
Look, the vanilla caramel for me, Lord, when it came out with the new flavors, well, I knew how to sell some of it. But the reality is when you got to real life and then you go and try to look for a job, and I went places and people want to hire you for the minimal jobs. But everybody wanted you to have a degree at that time, and I didn't have a degree. So I had to take on odd jobs to make ends meet while trying to make the ends meet still on welfare. I'll just say welfare lets you make a little bit of money if they know about it, if that makes sense. Right. So, but anyway, that story is some of, like, just a long story short about my background. Of course, there's a lot behind it. And from that point, I do know it is a sad story to share with people. It's very emotional for me to tell. But to be honest with you, I tell everybody it may be a sad story, but please don't feel sorry for me. Because the story that I enjoy telling now is how the process of going through that was holding on to a budget, being able to manage that welfare check and learning how to budget. Today, I live a life that is beyond imagine. Uh, very, very comfortable. My two sons, who I talked about, who I had now, I wasn't able to get a degree, but they went on to get their degrees. And when it comes to being homeless, I didn't get a degree, but I was able to budget enough to get my save up and be able to pay for a real estate license, which is long story short. We now own a very nice real estate investment company, and we bought and now own more homes than we'll ever be able to live in. Wow. And the process of being on welfare, which if nobody don't know, it's a little bit of money. If that's it, a little bit. And you have to make it stretch. But it was that being on welfare that taught me how to budget and and save. And so I went, it taught me, which is now what I'm known as, and am as a budget expert. And I now travel the world, teaching people how to manage and budget money. So I went from being on welfare to now traveling and telling people, sharing the story on how I went from welfare and helping, especially, and I'm always honest and open, especially African Americans, how to achieve wealth. And so I'm very passionate about that. And it's just an honor to be here and to share with people what the process is about a budget and how it helped me. I still live the life today, exactly. My husband and I, very happily married, very successful in it, but it's a budget. It's a budget, and I encourage everybody, whoever it is, if you could just do it. A budget is something that you need, whatever it is, even if you don't have a job, no money, you need a budget ahead of time. You need to know your budget so you know how much money you need to make. Understand it, appreciate it, and And that's some of just what I could share with you guys. So I don't want to go too long. I do want
Well,
to,
you know,
I,
it
I
was
shared about it, and I do want to make sure before I leave. I always like to leave people with just not just talking about it. If I'm able to share before we get off, I do like to make sure give people some stories on how is very helpful beyond me sharing some of the stories, how it has helped other people, real life stories, and then also the steps on how you put it together. This,
well, and I think that's important, and I definitely
Yes.
want to make sure we do that. But I thought it was really important that people get the backdrop of your story and all that. And I love what Ruth Bell put in the chat. She said, Phyllis, you certainly don't look like what you've been through. And you know, God is so able and awesome to bring us through. And you know, as I don't know, Ruth Bell, you just dropped something in my spirit. I was thinking about the Hebrew boys who went through the fiery furnace, but they came out, they didn't look or smell like what they'd been through. Daniel went through the lion's den and did not look like what he'd been through. And so as she says that, I think that's a huge compliment. And for me, what strikes me is that you you know, it's one thing, you know, you're a teenage mother and you have your mother to as that backbone and that resource, and then your mother passes and you're a child with children, and that just to me just puts it at even another level of respect in terms of, because it could have went you could have went a totally different direction. But there was something inside of you, and I would suspect something that your mother planted inside of you that wouldn't let you quit, wouldn't let you give up, wouldn't. There's a work ethic. There's a grandmother. There's somebody that put something in you that said, "Hey," that you drew on, that allowed you to continue on. And so I think it's a pretty awesome
yeah.
story.
And so thank you, because it's always, I love to, it's so important. And I do give my mother honor and credit, because my mother, as I know her, was on welfare her whole life. From, you know, as long as we knew her, and that's how we grew up. But she was the first person who, at that point in time, I didn't even understand it was a budget. But watching her manage that welfare check that she had, and we never went without a meal. Now I ain't gonna lie, sometimes it was one meal a day. Now I don't know if anybody ever ate butter sandwich or peanut butter
Right.
sandwich. some neck bones and some rice. And if you ain't never had it, let me tell you some of the best meals around.
Right.
You got a house full of people, you make ends meet. But even her managing that money, and the one thing that I admired in Tony, we talked about this, that I could connect it with, when it came to the insurance business, the one thing that my mother did was throughout that whole process, even with her minimal, she paid her policy.
Wow.
Paid her life
Paid
insurance.
her life insurance policy. Now, she didn't leave us any money. Now, my grandfather did. I ain't gonna lie. Now, he a little something. But which was her father, but she paid her policy enough that I couldn't even imagine the burden of us during that time would have had to pay for her funeral. But it was enough that they paid for it. And now that I understand it better through budgeting and stuff, she budgeted and she had a line item for her finances. We never went without lights. Our rent was always paid. And did I go on every school trip? No. Honestly, I think I only went on one. And did I have to wear hand-me-downs? Yes. My sister's clothes. You know, it was some challenging times. I could remember my own child even walking around with a hole in his shoe. You know, just being made fun of. my siblings and I, she always kept a clean house. We always a clean house was mandatory, which is it reminds me of a budget. You keep your finances clean.
Right.
Right. Hey, look, they say how you keep your house is how you keep everything, right?
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. So, but it was really a process. So I give honor to her for those things, keeping a budget, having life insurance, and making sure that what we know it to be now was a budget. And those are the things that I did fall back on, not knowing, but remembering there was something that she did that allowed us to take that little teeny bitty money and not use it on labels. So no, we ain't know nothing about labels. Okay, I knew about my sister's hand-me-downs. How about that?
Right.
Wait a minute, this is a funny story. I don't know if you guys remember Gloria Vanderbilt. And
Yes.
or something, but designer jeans. So I wanted a pair so bad. I took my own, I made my own brand, okay? And everybody followed me because it don't take much to make people follow you. And I took me some stitching on the back of it because all them had the name brand. And I sold Phyllis on the back of my pocket. And I made some Phyllis jeans.
I love it. I love it.
I love that.
It's so funny.
Yeah, so but anyway, just some of the stories is it. But budgeting it's the first step to wealth.
It's foundational.
It's foundational.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's foundational.
And that's why I even started. I felt like it would have been an injustice for me, even when I wrote my book, not to include something about budgeting in the beginning, because it's foundation. If you don't have that piece right, it's going to be hard to do a lot of the other stuff that we coach and we teach people to do. And so Dr. Renita Harris says, I love that. That was original. You saw Phyllis on the back of the jeans, right? And so that's awesome. And I know I want to talk a little bit about your public service, and then kind of make ourselves full swing back and leave the folks who are watching with some tips in terms of budgeting and having a spending plan. So what made you decide to go into public service, Phyllis? What's the story behind that? I know you're a city councilwoman. I mean, you've done a lot, won a lot of awards, and I've seen some of the newspaper articles and all these type of things. What made you decide to do that?
What I honestly found is that, again, and I don't want to make this sound like so budget focused, but budgeting is really my life and it's my foundation. Whereas most people have degrees and stuff, it has been that. Once I realized that if you could manage your money and have a system that made you comfortable, it gives us a second step, in that's community service that helps you. Many people don't even know that if you give to community service, depending on the college you go to, it's equivalent to credits in a degree. And so you could transfer them. And I learned that by way of people really looking at me and saying, what are you doing? We see you have 2 young children. You in the line, you go to the library, they're always neat and clean. But again, they said, like, you don't look like you're on welfare, even though I was embarrassed about being on it. But then my sons got involved. People took to me and my children, and my sons got involved. I would say I got involved in their school. It was always like I started parent-teacher conferences, was a part of their baseball teams. Now, all of this is free. And this is the opposite end of budgeting, because everybody think you have to pay money for stuff you don't. And then I would get involved with their activities. And depending on the activities you get involved in is where you really see the people, the mayors, the council people, the governors, the CEOs of businesses who are sponsoring things. And that's how I got involved, by giving service through parent-teacher conferences, volunteering on their baseball teams. And then that community service just led up. It's always been in my heart. A portion of it's understanding it's what you're supposed to do.
Mm.
And and that's the other part again, going back to budgeting. If your money is right and in order, you always have something to give, even if it's only 10 cents or $10. And some of those times I had to give. I had to pay for a candy bar for my children's fundraiser or something like that. But by way of managing my money, I was able to still give. And so that whole community process allowed people to see me, recognize me, and allowed me to have the confidence to say, I want to take it to another level. And that's what I did. I became the first African-American woman to write for a major newspaper, did that for 7 years. And then went on to become the city council person. No, first working for the mayor for 10 years and then becoming a city councilwoman for 8. But that is like, in a nutshell, some of my community service. But it's it's a lot more behind it. Well, the services I've done, but those are pretty much the major ones that, if you're coming from where I came from, most people would never even think that you can achieve that. And it's so important for me to share on any platform that I can, to share people, that show them that you can.
Well, and I think some of that is so important because as you were saying that, I was thinking about, give and it shall be given back to you, and just attitude of gratitude, really. And so often that's what we do. And we may not necessarily always have dollars and cents that we can give back, but we have our time, our talent, and then, maybe a little treasure, right? So time, talent, and treasure that we give. And as you were talking about that, I was thinking about a mutual friend that we have, Dr. Suarez, and about serving on boards and serving in these positions where if you're in the room, that's where decisions are made. Yeah. And you can get in the room. Some people pay their way in, some serve their way in. And just being around the table, I think kind of puts you in a great position to be in the know.
Yeah.
So
it is. And then I will just share, like, through that service, though, everything that I was involved in, like presidents of these nonprofits, being the head of the Parents Auxiliary, all you keep saying is money. People fundraising money, giving money. The first thing, if you're going to start a business, what is your budget? And then when you start to understand, I said, wow, this is like huge. Everything it needs a budget. It's not only me, but then it started, and that helped me propel myself into starting businesses, and not just starting businesses with the idea. All my businesses started, first thing, what's the budget? Okay. How much is this going to cost? Right. Do I need to pay somebody? How much is the marketing? How much could be free? How much time can I even donate before I can even give back? I mean, get something. And then when you understand and budget, it makes you be creative. So my first business that I had was a catering business. And when I tell you, starting from scratch, so this is still my welfare days, but understand a budget and understanding how you could get creative. So I said, well, I got to get, creative. What am I going to do? I took the money that somebody gave me, So now I'm asking for my payment up front. I knew how much it was going to cost to make the money. So I said, well, I ain't got no money. I ain't got nothing. Like, okay, I had to cook a little something, and I'm going to hope and pray that come out right, because I was cooking out my house and storing the people food in my refrigerator, storing it on the back porch in the snow, and that's just a true story. Don't recommend nobody do that, please. But
You were using your resources.
yeah.
All of them. All
Yeah.
of them. And I don't think that we talked about that you're from New Jersey.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yes. From New Jersey. And then I took the money, but only because I knew how to budget it. I laid out exactly how much the event was going to cost, had the people give me half up front.
Mm-hmm.
Went and bought the food and then bought the resources.
Right.
That makes sense. So I never put a dime out.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that business for 15 years. It's the business that really propelled me, put my kids through college, bought my first home, and actually a big part of helping me get off welfare.
Wow.
But it started out with nothing. I had nothing except knowing how to budget. So
now listen, folks, if you're listening to this and
Right.
you're not encouraged to do a budget, I don't know what else we could tell you tonight, right?
Right.
Because it's pretty awesome. So Phyllis, we're about 15 minutes left, and I want to kind of just give you a chance to. You mentioned you want to leave the audience with we'll say some tools and some steps. So what would you like to share in terms of what would you tell the people who are listening or watching this replay? What should their first step be?
okay, so if I could just rewind a little bit,
Go ahead.
and it will, because I'm going to give people two stories on how a budget is helpful, and if you don't do it, how it hurts you. And so the first story I'll give you the pain first. Two examples of two clients that I had where their spouses passed away, and they realized under two different circumstances that they didn't have insurance. Now, I want to be clear, Tony, I understand the whole insurance part. I'm not trying to sell nobody. These are real life stories. Okay. But when you have a budget, you have a line item for everything. That's what a budget does. It's a spending plan to help you live a comfortable life, so all your money is spread out and you know exactly where it's going. So you still get to buy some Gucci, okay? And I still get to pay my mortgage too. I just got to make sure the Gucci money ain't coming out the mortgage money.
Right.
So, but anyway, both of their spouses passed away. It was back to back. It was crazy for me. And I'm like, do you have a budget? But no, my husband did it. Well, the reality is if you had a budget, you would have had a line item to pay your insurance. It wouldn't have even been a second thought. It would have already been allocated there. And then if you missed the payment, understanding how a budget works and when you really operate it, you would have seen the money was missing, was still sitting there, because the money is already there when you do a budget ahead of time. The money is sitting there just waiting for the bill to come. You're all relaxed and comfortable. Hey, I ain't worried about y'all stressed out people over there. I ain't stressed. And so you start to see it, but neither one of them had it. So both of their, one, they found that, I'll just say the policies lapsed. And one of them had more money money enough to pay. But because it wasn't allocated anywhere, the policies actually lapsed. One of them didn't have it and he lied. It's also a way for your mate to see that you no, something ain't the matter here. But it should be a line item. Now, this is the second one, the beauty of it. So now this is a story that I love to tell. Now I go to a church, I go to speak, and I'm at a budget course. Two seniors, a couple, we sit down. They said, we're struggling. I sit down with them, beautiful couple. We go over their budget and we go to line item. Now I have to, go with them and calculate all their expenses. And they keep going over this. They go over all the expenses. And all of a sudden, they said, well, where's this $15 coming out of your bank statement from? They said, well, we got to pay for the grass. Well, you live in an apartment building. What grass you pay for? They own land.
Oh.
So now they're paying for this. It winds up, I help them from this, and it's a family land that they own, didn't want to sell it. I said, y'all are struggling. We need to go and assess this land. The land is worth $1.5 million.
Wow.
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 But had we not sat down and did the budget, they would have never known.
Yep.
And needless to say, they doing okay today.
Well, that's
a blessing.
Yes.
You know, it is just to be able to share like the process and what a budget reveals to you. So those are two stories that I could just share with you why I feel is so important. And then the last one I like to share with people is just being very clear are the 5 steps that it takes just to really put a budget in order. It's just 5 steps. And if people are willing to do it, you'll manage and work the rest of it out. And those 5 steps are, it's very simple. You're simply adding up all your income. Then you're adding up all your expenses and being clear. If you're with a mate or partner, all of that is your income. And so you have to be willing to be honest. And if your mate ain't willing to do it, be like, hey, I'm going to get my part together. I don't know about you, but I'll see you on the other side. But it is beautiful if you got to make it want to do it together. But that whole income and then adding up all your expenses. And that means adding up all your expenses. So you're very clear about everything, going through bank statements, seeing stuff that you forgot. I see people who have signed up for stuff that's being deducted from their pays and everything that's being taken out. And they like, well, I'm going to pay the light bill with a light bill and the gym bill and class. So that's why your lights are cut off. Because you ain't. So, but all of that needs to be added up and be very clear. So then at that point, you're adding up all your income. If you're a senior, it's everything. It's not just your work income. It's everything. I was surprised at how many seniors didn't understand it. When they went to work, they didn't understand like Social Security. This is crazy. They really did not understand Social Security is an income. No, that's your income. And so just different labels you put on stuff. But step number 1 is adding up all of your income. You're paying child support, baby, that's some income. Okay, if something happened, alimony, somebody giving you some money, that's an income. A side job, that's your income. So adding up all of your income, adding up all your expenses, looking through your bank statements is number 2. Step number 3 is simply subtracting your expenses from your income. They should be equal, or the income should be more. And if the income is more and you can't understand why and you still don't understand why you're struggling, then something needs to be adjusted. You're spending on something, you're going out to eat too much or something, you're not really calculating your income. But that extra income shows money that you should be saving. But if the income is less than your expenses, then you readjust. What do I need to cut back on? You have to be honest with yourself. And then step number 4, so I'm going to be clear. Step number 1 is add up all your income. 2, add up all your expenses. 3, deduct your expenses from your income. Step number 4, and this is where a lot of people get it confused, is you need to have 3 bank accounts. Yep. Most people commingle their money. 3 should be the minimal. You need 1 with your fixed expenses, bills. I call it the bill account. And then you have 1 for your everyday account. And then when you have 1 for your savings. Okay, put it like that. Your
Good.
bill account is you're putting up the money where you have all the stuff that you know need to be paid. You know, your light bill, you know, your car insurance, your mortgage, credit card, stuff you know need to be paid. And then you have your everyday account that's kind of your freedom. Okay, I want my gas, I want to have my lunch, I want to have some shoes or something, because all of that is going to go in your budget. But and then you have 3, which is your emergency savings or your quarterly bills. And once you add up all your expenses, those expenses are going to be broken down into those 3 categories. It's either going to be bills every day or savings. So say a savings may be a bill that comes quarterly. Say your insurance comes quarterly and the bill was $30 quarterly, you should really be putting up $10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the bill hits on that 3rd month, your money like, hey, wait, Bill, hey, here I am. And then remember, you ain't stressed out. And here you go, you know how people rob people to pay for. Well, how am I gonna pay this bill? The bill like, I don't care where you pay me at, because obviously you're used to me. And so if you don't pay me, you're gonna lose me. So and then it works itself out. But those 3 accounts, that's number 4, setting up your accounts, and so that you're having it. And let's know that this is what I'm talking about is being done on a monthly process. So you're adding up all your income for a month, expenses for a month, and then you're subtracting it, and then you're having these 3 accounts that you're going to break it down, and you're going to break them down per pay. You'll break it down per pay and understand. So if you get paid twice a month, after you have the income and expenses, you're breaking it down, but all those expenses and that income are accounted for. And then once you break it down, that was the 4th step, to add, making sure you got the 3 accounts. The 5th step is setting up a time and making sure that you have a time, a date or something that you want to have a meeting with your money.
Right.
Hold yourself accountable. Bank receipts, where I'm going, how's my money doing? This is my day to pay my bills. How am I planning my next trip? Because I tell you, Joey, my husband and I, we living our best life, baby. We rolling. And I ain't gonna lie, but we sit down and in those meetings, we plan it. And we're able to, because we sit down and we meet with our money. Because the one thing you'll find out, you take care of your money will take care of you. Mm-hmm. It's a God-given process. It recycles. And the beauty of that is that 3rd account, that one that I said for savings, you're going to find out it's like magic, how it just starts building. And building. And then it's from stuff you thought you were going to spend on. You ain't spend on it. And then maybe something went down. You didn't use it. But it just starts growing and growing and growing. And before you know it, you're like, all right, I need a 4th account. This thing's spilling over.
Right.
Love it, Phyllis. Absolutely love it.
But anyway, I hope I did the first, just reiterate. 1, add up your expenses, subtract your expenses from your income, setting up your 3 accounts, and setting a meeting to have a meeting to review your money and what's going on with it. And those are my 5 steps. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, listen, Phyllis, Kimberly Weaver says Phyllis is a budget phenomenal, right? And just like it's so, and I love, you know, how you present it all in a way that is fun, but yet very educational for people.
Yeah.
And, you know, very encouraging. And I think because of your story and what you've been through and you're not talking theory, you're talking about what you've done yourself. And I think that's so very powerful, very practical, very powerful. Just great information.
Yeah. Thank you. At the beginning of the show, I talked about my nieces and nephews. This is exactly what I told them. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah,
There it
it's
is.
simple.
So we're putting them to replay and say, listen, Aunt Michelle was right. We had a budget expert, a guru on that co-sign on everything that you're saying. So
if you could get people, Michelle, the way I've gotten people to really understand, because this is the part that most people don't get or understand. It's fun to spend, but let me tell you something. It's also fun to save. When you see that money start to grow, that thing is nice.
Yes.
And and then it again, it's so practical. So when I'm teaching or speaking to kids, teaching children, I always encourage them, just start with something small. And so for my family, we did a very small, we started out, my husband and I, believe it or not, when we got together, that's a whole nother story, Tony. We could come back and I'll talk about couples and money. But my husband and I started saving together with $10.
Wow.
Challenged each other. You gonna put your 10 up? I'm gonna put my 10 up. And then we started we get a little competitive. He said, well, 12 up. Mama, put 15 up.
Love it.
Good. I like that.
and before you know it, now we was keeping calculation or who put up what, right? And so because it was together but kind of separate, we became competitive. When we say that first $1,000, you couldn't tell us nothing, honey.
I tell people, get to that first $1,000 is so powerful, and I think that's where one of the things that Dave Ramsey has, right, is like and Crown Financial and some of these others is to get that first 1,000 saved.
Yes.
If you get that first 1,000 saved and you start to get the victory, it just kind of encourages you and to keep going. And so that's pretty awesome. So Phyllis, I know you're doing a lot of
family members. I talked too much because I was so happy. I'm like, I got $1,000, and then they wanted to borrow it. Oh, no.
And then you can say, let me show you how to save your own 1,000.
Let me show you how to save your own 1,000, right? We talked about that last week. It's a good idea to loan money to families. So that's a whole other topic, right? So, but Phyllis, I know that you're doing a lot of stuff, and we're coming up on 9 o'clock. Just real quick, what you're doing and how folks can get ahead of you. I know that you're working primarily with larger groups and stuff like that now, but just tell us a little bit about your business as we close and how folks can get a hold of you.
Yeah. So my business is Success Links LLC. We're professional development company, and I do talks and trainings and workshops all around making learning about money fun. Ooh. And so I do bigger groups. So I speak in schools, colleges, banks, seminars, and that's it. But they could get a hold of me through my email, which is successlinkllc at gmail.com. And that's pretty much it. And then here in Charlotte, I'm very proud now. I'm currently working on Wealth Week, my second in-person event for Black History Month. Was always the third week in February. Now COVID is over, so we're working on a location for that. Was the most successful event here in Charlotte. People coming together. Quick survey of it showed that us coming together in that venue, my survey showed we shared over $1 million in resources.
Wow.
People got jobs, contracts, so their services. And it's so funny, I tell everybody, I said, it was so good. 2 people got married and 1 person had a darn baby.
No, that's good.
That is good. That's a good event.
That's a good event.
Right.
Yeah. But it's called Wealth Week, and it's during Black History Month, and it's geared towards bringing African Americans together to share resources and information to help them.
And I know that first event. I know how hard you worked to put that together. I can't remember. I was out of town, I think, during that time. I can't remember. I was out of town or something during that week. But I think I was traveling with Dr. Frazier or something. But you did a great job putting that together, pulling resources together, and I did hear how wonderful of an event it was. So, Phyllis, I just want to just thank you again for coming and spending this hour with us, as well as the interview that you did for the radio show on Saturday. And so always encouraged. I leave here encouraged, and I know our listeners and people who are watching even this replay are going to be encouraged by what they heard and what they saw. And so my gratitude to you. Thank you so much. Please tell your husband we said hello. We actually, Michelle, Lisa and I and some other, I don't think they were all couples, but we were over at you guys' condo and we played cash flow. Cash flow.
You were there.
Yes, Lisa and I were there. And I'll tell you what, we actually, Marlon and I did a kids camp in Mississippi, and we used cash flow quadrant as part of that financial camp for kids, because they have a kids version of it.
Yes.
And so that was the first time we had ever been exposed to it, and it was a great game. And so I have like 4 boards now. So yeah, you forgot about that, huh?
I you know what? I did. I just do this stuff so passionately, and I just be going around and everyone's like, oh my God, you were there. So I'm a national instructor, so I go around and I teach people, but I did do that.
Yeah, yep. It was myself, and Marlon was there, and Lisa.
Now you making
we had a great time.
It was fun.
It was a great time. So
I'm gonna do that again. Okay. All right. So
Michelle, anything you'd like to say as we wrap up?
Okay.
I mean, Phyllis just hit the nail on the head. Like I just taught this same thing on Sunday.
Wow.
So I think we're kindred spirits, like, and I love that you did the cash flow game. That sounds fun too. So
yeah, the cash flow game was pretty awesome. So
well,
Phyllis, again, thank you for being here. Everyone, I want to remind you, Saturday at 7:30 a.m. on Praise 100.9. And Alice Martin said, Phyllis, thank you for keeping it real. So make sure you join the broadcast on Saturday morning, and then we'll be right back here on Tuesday with a gentleman who's known as the celebrity credit guru. So looking forward to it. Y'all be good. We'll see you next week.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.